So I currently find myself in what I like to refer to as panic mode. It doesn't happen that often, but I think it's important to talk about when it does happen. And I'm sure there are people out there watching this video that can relate to this, where you're in that situation where you feel a little bit underprepared. Maybe you've been slacking off on your practice. Maybe you simply haven't had the time. Life has taken over and you haven't had time to get to your instrument, but you have something rather important on the horizon. And for me, the timeline is pretty accelerated right now. I'm here in California Wednesday morning. By Saturday night, I need to be at absolute maximum strength for a concert in London. And I haven't played since my show this previous Saturday night here in LA. So why am I in panic mode? Why do I call it that? And of course, we're going to get to what I do to overcome that, plug the gap, stop the anxiety, and get to a place where I feel great about my playing, where I feel really confident walking on stage. So panic mode for me is I simply haven't done the work. I'm not ready to play. I don't feel comfortable or relaxed, or where my time, my sound, where my feel is in terms of my playing. And that can happen in just a couple of days off. Like I said, it's only Wednesday morning. I played 2 shows Saturday night. So I've had Sunday, Monday, Tuesday off. Essentially, I practiced maybe 30 minutes yesterday, but it was kind of hurried and it was in the end of the day, not my ideal time to do it. And what I want to do is get the feel back. That's maybe the most important thing for all of this. It's not about the chops or the technique or any of the high-end stuff. It's all about the feel and the sound. And can I make something, i.e. the band, i.e. Steve Smith's Vital Information, who I'm going to Europe to play with, can I make that feel good? And can I have fun in the process? And am I confident that no matter what I play, it's all going to be okay? As of this moment, the answer to all of those questions is actually no. And here's what I do to get over that, to get through that process. I'm kind of going to go through it with you in real time because this is the first time I'm picking up the instrument today. One of the first things I notice is I'm sitting in my sort of correct posture. I do feel pretty relaxed overall, but as I put my fingers on the instrument, I'm looking for feedback. I'm looking for immediate feedback as to what feels good, what feels bad. And one of the key elements of accelerating this process for me is to actually do something that's maybe counterintuitive to you. It's to pick up an instrument that isn't my main bass. I'm going to cycle through a few instruments, in fact, until I get to the instrument I'm taking on the road with me. And the reason for that is I want to put myself out of my comfort zone. These are kind of old strings. It's a 4-string. The string spacing and the scale length are all different from what I normally use. And that's sort of going to accelerate the issues a little better. It's going to really expose the things that are most weak in my playing when I play an instrument that's actually tougher to play. Now, my fear when making a video like this is that I actually pick up the instrument and everything sounds fine. I don't make any mistakes. And you're all sitting there going like, well, you sound fine to me. Like, what's this guy talking about? Trust me, we are going to find them. And whereas they might not be super obvious technical things, maybe they're reactive things, maybe they're connective things, maybe there are things I know I want to be able to execute on the gig, certain things I know I have to be able to execute on the gig, but especially when it gets to the moments where I'm improvising and perhaps I'm even playing on my own, I want to know that I have all the things I've been working on over the past weeks, months, years even. I want to know that I have a great deal of that at my fingertips, ready to go, and completely natural and not forced. So whereas I'm finding things feel pretty good in terms of my basic technique, the way my brain's thinking, I'm actually not that relaxed and not that focused into where I might go if someone simply said to me, hey, Janek, play something. So and one thing I'm looking out for is, am I falling back into the trap of just doing the same old things over and over and over again that I've done for 30 years? Or is there some spark of, oh, that's kind of new, and I'm continuing on the development of an idea, something I've been practicing in my time here in the studio, something I've been working on over the past weeks or months? Is that a chordal thing? And I'm very fortunate that I've been working on this for an incredible amount of time, 30 plus years at this point. I have quite a large repertoire of exercises, one of which I want to get into in a second, because I just felt something in my playing, something about this note. It's also not always possible to explain it. Maybe it's a target thing. Maybe it's something I need to maybe this exercise is going to work out actually. This is another thing that is always on my mind. I'm always wary when something feels good right away when I haven't played it for a while. And I think, okay, maybe I'm playing it in a position or in a key that I'm more comfortable in than another position or another key. That shouldn't be the case. We should be confident in all keys, all positions. But that's one of my first questions, like, where do I move this? Maybe I move it up a half step. And the great thing is, no matter where I move it, already made a mistake right there. Very subtle, and I went to the minor third instead of the major third. Even if I don't make a technical mistake with it, the byproduct of moving that around is I'm practicing. I'm putting fingers on the instrument. I'm spending time with the bass, and I'm working on any number of things that are required for the gig. Right now, it happens to be sort of linear ideas and moving through harmony. Something that is in, let me see here, all the good stuff. There are a lot of sort of one chords going to five chords using diminished like I am there, and resolving back to the one, moving all over the instrument, both major and minor. And to get to that point, like I said, I'm very lucky that I have a massive catalog of exercises and ideas and things I can run and things I can draw, things I know will expose deficiencies in my playing and give me amazing and immediate feedback about what I need to work on for the next 2 or 3 hours to feel the way I want to feel when I walk out on stage in just a few days' time. And now I'm sure as we go through this process together here in real time of seeing where the deficiencies in my playing are, we're going to hit, as we already have, some stuff and all the good stuff. I know pentatonics are going to come into focus. And of course, the whole concept behind the 10-minute manual is basically technical exercises that you can run for 10 minutes and just boost almost everything about your playing. So I'm putting a bundle together. If you want to dig deeper into any of the stuff I talk about in this video, we're going to do a bundle of all the good stuff, Bass Player's Guide to Pentatonics, and the 10-minute manual. There'll be a digital bundle of these 3 books on the website. So if you buy all 3 together, you save a bunch of money on it. That is linked below in the description of the video. I'll try and do a physical one as well. The trouble is they're not always in stock, so it becomes a little harder sometimes, but there will be a digital version of that. Pentatonics comes with play-alongs. Maybe we'll get to that in this video. I'm not sure. You've probably heard them if you followed the channel before. Really useful just to jam and get into the lower register and the fundamentals of the bass when we're working on getting our confidence back. But in terms of this exercise, I wasn't even doing that one here. So that's another one from all the good stuff. This is the one we were working on. 1 to 5, 1. And I'd got up to D, so maybe let's try that in E flat. And now I really want to push myself to get in the lower register of the instrument. This is where playing slightly longer scale bass with wider string spacing really pushes my technique in both hands. Exactly. Immediately we get down in the lower register, wider stretches than I'm normally used to. It exposes some technical deficiencies. This is perfect. This is something that tells me this is where you need to be right now. Immediately slow it down, focus in on the notes a little more. Let's move that up a half step. Now let's move it down a half step from where we were before, from A flat to G. Even bigger stretches. Let's get down there, F sharp. Didn't hit the octave. There was another wrong note in there. And there on the third try, we get it. That's the kind of critique I'm giving myself. I'm exposing the mistakes. I'm repeating the idea until I get it perfect, perfect's the wrong word, until I get it right, until I get all the notes in the right place. Then I'm focusing in on where I am, relaxed, how's my time, how's my sound, all of those fundamental elements of the music that we must be working on no matter what our note choice is. Now let's jump into an instrument that is moving more towards what I'm used to playing all the time. It's my collaboration with RKM Basses. It's a 5-string, E through C. As soon as I pick it up, it sort of inspires me to play a little more chordally, perhaps. And it's kind of coming down 1 inch in scale length, so now we're at 33 inches. There was one dead note in there. I definitely feel more comfortable on this instrument because it's really, really made towards my specs. But it's still challenging me. You heard a dead note there, for instance. And of course, everything changes just slightly. Like I said, 34 down to 33, everything changes slightly in terms of your target notes when you're making bigger leaps. And then the feel of the low end of the instrument also. One thing you cannot fake, you cannot practice at home. It's something I've struggled with my entire career. You cannot fake the gig. You can practice for hours and hours and hours, but you'll never be pushed to stage volume, especially if you're playing with a louder ensemble with drums. And you'll never be pushed most of the time to that stamina thing of holding down the low end for a considerable amount of time. Think of just a regular pop song that's maybe 3, 4, 5 minutes long. Then think of the more jazz and improvisational thing that I'm going to be doing with Vital Information this weekend. Sometimes those songs are 8, 9, 10 minutes long. And for the most part, I'm not up the dusty end of the neck. I'm in the low register of the instrument. It's the part of the instrument that's hardest to play, and it's the biggest stretch for the fretting hand. It's everything to the extreme that it can be. And it's really important not to ignore that part of the practice routine and that part of the instrument when you're getting your confidence back, when you're trying to stiffen up your calluses on your picking hand, perhaps trying to put some confidence back in the tank, trying to get some stamina for that show. Like I said, impossible to recreate the live gig in a practice situation, but just make sure you are working on all areas of the neck to put you as close as possible to being ready when it comes to showtime. And then the last part of the process for me is to grab the instrument that I've decided I'm taking on this particular tour. This time it happens to be my Matheson, the hollow body, the headless, the newer instrument that I've been playing lately. And now everything is very, very familiar. The scale length is 32. one thing I love to do is to do something like that and make sure I'm hitting it both in major and minor. That's a great, simple variation that you barely have to think about. It doesn't matter what the exercise is. This one is very much like the Hanon piano book that I grew up working on to get my bass chops together, to get my basic technique together. There are a ton of major scale exercises just like this in All the Good Stuff, and their minor counterpart where I'm descending major like this. No reason why you shouldn't be also practicing minor at the same time. This time is melodic minor. And I'm all about the ending of the exercise as well. It's all very well to practice scales up and down. That can be really useful to point out little deficiencies in your technique. But if you're getting into a specific exercise, something that has kind of 4-note cells, that's actually, now I think about it, that's like a bebop approach thing. That is it, man. We are naturally, didn't plan this at all, we're naturally hitting so many of the exercises in these books. That exact one is in 10-minute manual. It's a, I love that one. It's like a bebop approach thing within a major scale. But whatever you're doing, something like that, something pattern-based within a specific harmony, always try and give it as many variations as possible. Major and minor, for instance, being two simple ones. But when you get to the end of that, you've come back down to your root. Maybe combine it with another exercise. So you've got descending minor. So you work in something arpeggiated on the end of it, something with larger intervals. This is exactly what I do when I'm in panic mode, when I'm trying to explore the instrument, when I'm trying to give myself confidence back, when I'm trying to get that stamina into my playing, and having all of these pivot points to feel like I can go anywhere I want in any tonality, major, minor, augmented, diminished, whatever it is, to make sure I'm really in control of all of the sounds of a scale, for instance. Maybe I'm hearing A flat and I'm playing a melodic minor. I love working on all of the modes of the melodic minor. And just feeling them under my fingers, hearing the sound, feeling them under my fingers, connecting those two things, reminding myself that they're all there, that they are an integral part of my vocabulary, and they're completely available without me having to think about them. If you're feeling super adventurous and want to get stuck into the modes and all of the variations of literally every scale there is in Western music, this is my latest book, The Bass Player's Book of Scales and Arpeggios, Methods and Exercises for Electric Bass. We've got a long-ass name in there. That is available. It is kind of for the brave in certain places, but there's also some great fundamental elements of music in there, from straight major, diatonic scales, all the way up to like Hungarian minor and half diminished, all of these different things. That's what I draw from. And I use my own books. It's not just like a shameless plug. The reason I wrote all of these books is because that, as you can see, is exactly what I do in my daily process. And it is often one of the most priceless things in terms of getting me ready for a gig. Life is incredibly chaotic right now. There are so many things going on besides this show I have in London at the weekend. I have a wife, I have a child, I have pets, a house, car, like all of these things in life are happening. And sometimes I need to take the thought process out of how do I accelerate my playing in a very short space of time. That's why I wrote all of these things down. That's why I still, to this day, open any one of my books, literally on any page, and be like, great, completely take the thought out of what I need to do right now. I just need to spend time with my instrument. And as long as you're working on the instrument, thinking about great time and great sound, I know you will get there. I speak from many, many years of experience that I know about panic mode I'm sure you do too. But I also know that it's possible to come out of the other side of that a much better player in a very short space of time. I'll see you.